Aunt tried to steal my inheritance, but karma had the last word. So, this all started when my grandfather passed away about a year ago. He was an amazing man who worked hard his whole life and had a huge impact on me. Grandpa was the kind of person who always had time for everyone. Whether it was teaching me how to fish at his cabin or sitting on the porch with me, telling stories from his youth, he always made me feel special. He was like my second dad, especially after my parents divorced when I was 10. Every summer, I'd stay at Grandpa's cabin. It was this small, cozy place surrounded by woods and a little lake. He taught me how to build a fire, fix things, and even how to drive an old stick-shift truck. I could tell that place meant the world to him, and it became my sanctuary too. That's why I wasn't too surprised when I learned he left me the cabin and the surrounding land in his will. What did surprise me was how bitter my aunt, Karen, became about it. When the will was read, Karen flipped out. Grandpa split his estate evenly between his 3 kids, my mom, my uncle, and Karen. But he also set aside a trust fund for me to cover my college tuition and left me the cabin and land. Karen immediately started complaining. It's not fair that Opie gets extra. My kids didn't get anything special. She yelled. For context, her kids are 25 and 27, both working decent jobs, and they didn't spend half as much time with Grandpa as I did. At first, Karen's bitterness came out in snide remarks. Must be nice to have everything handed to you, she'd say at family gatherings. I ignored it, but my mom was furious. You deserve this, she told me. Your grandfather loved you, and he wanted to give you a good start in life. But Karen wasn't just going to let it go. A few weeks later, our family lawyer called with shocking news. Karen was contesting the will. She claimed Grandpa wasn't of sound mind when he wrote it and insisted the trust fund and cabin should be split among all the grandkids. I was stunned. Grandpa had always been sharp as a tack, even in his later years. This was just Karen being greedy. The legal battle was messy. Karen hired this sleazy lawyer who made it his mission to paint me and my mom in the worst light possible. He tried to claim that my mom pressured Grandpa into writing the will the way he did. Total nonsense. Grandpa was as stubborn as they come. No one could make him do anything he didn't want to do. Our lawyer presented medical records proving Grandpa was in excellent mental health when he wrote the will. He'd even had a psychologist sign off on it because he wanted to avoid exactly this kind of drama. Karen's argument fell apart, but she didn't stop there. She claimed the cabin was family property and couldn't be given to just one person. This part hit me hard. The cabin wasn't just a building to me. It was a place filled with memories of Grandpa. I remember the time he helped me carve my first wooden figurine, or the long talks we'd have about life while watching the sunset. He told me countless times that he wanted me to have the cabin because I appreciated it as much as he did. The court saw through Karen's lies. The judge ruled that Grandpa's will was airtight and that Karen had no claim to the trust fund or the cabin. Not only did she lose, but the court also ordered her to pay all the legal fees for wasting everyone's time. Update: the aftermath. About 6 months after the case ended, karma caught up with Karen in a big way. It turns out she'd been living far beyond her means, racking up massive debts to keep up appearances. Losing the court battle and being hit with the legal fees was the final straw. She had to sell her fancy house and move into a much smaller one. Meanwhile, I've been putting Grandpa's gifts to good use. The trust fund is covering my college tuition, and I've started fixing up the cabin. I'm even building a small extension so I can live there year-round. Every time I sit on that porch, watching the same sunsets Grandpa and I used to enjoy, I feel like he's still with me. Karen tried to take away what Grandpa left me, but in the end, she only ruined her own life. I'm grateful that I can honor Grandpa's memory and keep his legacy alive in the place we both loved so much. TLDR: after my grandfather passed, my Aunt Karen contested his will, claiming he wasn't of sound mind. She tried to take the trust fund and cabin he left me. The court ruled against her, and she had to pay all the legal fees. Karma hit hard. She ended up drowning in debt and had to downsize her entire life. I'm now fixing up the cabin and keeping Grandpa's legacy alive, while Karen deals with the consequences of her greed. If you like the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to receive more.